Hey guys, it's the Nerdy Movie Guy. So just recently, I had the chance to go to the theaters and check out the new horror film Immaculate. So I'm hearing mixed reviews about this one, and for me, I think this one was very creepy for me. And so I'm gonna explain why. So in this movie, we see this character, Cecilia. She wants to become a nun, becomes a nun, and things start going wrong all around. So this is one of those reviews I don't want to spoil for you guys because it's still in theaters. I want people to have the chance to go and see it. So for this movie, everything starts going wrong, and it's one of those movies where everything sort of starts slowly building up toward a climax. And I've noticed there are very different styles of horror. I've seen some where there's a giant climax in the beginning, and then you start getting answers for it as the movie goes on, or you get more pieces of that villain or creature or character's backstory as it goes on. And then there's some that's sort of like a slow burn style, and I think that's what this one is. This one, you see what's going on, and things slowly go from bad to worse to build up toward its ending climax. And so, in this movie, I'm hearing some people are saying there are some cheap jump scares. So here's the thing. I don't know if there's anyone out there like me, but when there's a jump scare, whether it's a good one or a cheap one, if there's a jump scare, I'm going to jump and I'm going to get scared. That's just how it is. There's no other way around it. So for that reason, this was a very reactionary movie where I was just reacting to everything going on. Not only to the jump scares, but there's also so much very intense scenes where you just have no idea what's going on to where everything becomes unsettling. This is one of those scenes, or this is one of those movies where a lot of the scenes, when whether you see a figure in a hallway or something, it's constantly making you guess what's in the room surroundings, what's going to be behind the character, what's in the other room, who's listening, who's not. So this movie kept me constantly guessing throughout pretty much the entirety of the film. So this film also has one of those very interesting styles where instead of slowly explaining everything going on, there is a scene in the third act where it's sort of this explanation scene. So I don't know if you guys are a fan of it or not. Some movies make it work, some don't. There are just some movies where I think could have some very bland content, and then toward the end, explanation scene, and now suddenly it's supposed to be all exciting, and it's just not. This movie, I think, fell a little bit above the middle. It was a little, very slightly disappointing when they had the explanation scene, just to be like, okay, so that's what it is, that makes sense. I've just personally, the reveal scene, what the story is, I've seen in multiple projects before, so for me, seeing it in this movie, it was not a first, but it was still interesting to see this movie's and this director's take on that kind of a story, regardless. And it does get, it's constantly spiraling out of control, and there's all kinds of things happening, and when you get to the reveal scene, everything just, with the intensity, and everyone's being on the edge of the seats, everything just becomes more. That's the best way I can describe this movie. Everything became more. From the graphic stuff, with the gore and the blood, to the intensity for not knowing what's going to happen to these characters, not knowing what the villain's going to do, not knowing if these characters are going to succeed or not. Everything just kept building and building and building. So I found it enjoyable because it was sort of the slow burn, but also it kept being entertaining because these dramatic things are happening. And it's filled with jump scares, which is enough for me to just be tense throughout the movie. So for me, my movie experience when there's jump scares is I'm tense, and if there's jump scares strategically placed every so often, it's going to keep me tense through the whole movie. And what that does for I feel like people like me, it keeps your attention most of the time, and that's what it did for me. It was enough of everything to keep my attention. I've said this in some reviews. If a movie's just a little bit boring, I give it the benefit of the doubt. I mostly pay attention to it, but if a movie's just flat out boring, but I want to see it anyway, I'll maybe play some games on my phone or something. But this movie, obviously I didn't because I was in the theater, but if I were at home, I don't think I would do that with this one either, because of the way it keeps your attention and the way it tries to. I think it worked in this way. So that's one of the things I appreciate about movies that go out of their way to keep your attention, because not every movie has that kind of quality. And this one did. So, of course, there's build-ups with the characters' relationships as well. The relationships between the characters change throughout the movie, whether you have Cecilia's friends or mentors, or whoever's around her. The storyline, the dynamic between the characters keeps changing, some for better, some for worse, and you just slowly get more and more pieces of that the more you watch the film. So, overall, this isn't one of the greatest horror movies I've ever seen, but I would definitely not consider this boring or bland. I found it just enjoyable enough to keep my interest from beginning to end. So, for me, I suppose this might be closer to the middle. If I had to rank it, give it however many stars out of 10, probably be a solid 7, 7.5. Like I said, I didn't think it was perfect, but I still enjoyed it. What this movie has that will force it to stand out amongst, I hope, most horror movies this year, because I hope this is not a trope that continues over and over again, is the ending is so shocking. I didn't see it coming. And when you get to that ending, it is the most tense part of the movie. And when the ending comes around, the credits hit you out of nowhere. And then you realize, okay, it's over now. And it was just the most edge of your seat, intense ending that I've seen for a movie in a while. So, as far as endings go, this movie had a 10 out of 10 for me. So, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a really neat story. It was well paced. I thought the action was just enough, and it keeps your interest from beginning to end. That's my take on this movie. Can't wait to see more horror movies in the theaters. There's a lot of neat ones coming up, so I can't wait to check them out and then review them later on. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Always keep it digging, everyone.